In a world where left is up and right is apparently wrong, do souls make sense of it all? Or at least have fun trying? Gear up, friends, for Chicken and the Dog. Welcome to another episode of Chicken and the Dog. I am the dog, and with me, as always, is the guy that is just sometimes off, the chicken. What up, dog?
The only time I'm off is when you're in upside down bizarro world.
Oh, um, look, man, we're gonna jump into these games, man. There's a lot of cool games to talk about. Nothing crazy happened this weekend, but it was just some really good football to watch. And I say this all the time. We're just really into the meat of things and trying to shake and see how things are going to line up. And I believe that um, some of the college football bracket is probably going to change. I read something last night that says their prediction, and I think it was CBS Sports, if they projected the new playoff bracket, the group of 5 teams would not be Memphis because Memphis lost. It would actually be the Green Machine, North Texas. Yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting. But man, let's go ahead and dive in these games, right? And you and I talked about this game, man. We thought that it could be a really close game, or you thought that it could be a good, not a trap game. You thought Georgia was going to win the game, but you were like, watch out for Mississippi State Bulldogs. It was in Starkville, but man, it proved to go really in Georgia's favor. So a number 5, 7-1, 5-1 in the SEC took on a 5-4, 1-4 in the SEC. Look, man, Georgia handled business, man. They beat them 41-21. It was a really great showing for not only for Georgia and their offense, but also their defense too. Man, Mississippi State came out right off the rip and scored 7 points. Boom, quick, fast, in a hurry. And then Georgia just defense stepped up after that. And announcers kept saying, "Is Georgia going to have that slow start like they've been having in some of these games?" And they didn't. Man, they came out of the gate firing on all cylinders. Their defense stepped up. They let them score that 1 touchdown, and then pretty much held them to it until they started. We knew the game was out of control, and they started switching out, pulling a lot of their starters and stuff out. But it was a really good game.
Yeah, a big test for Georgia, I think, from the standpoint of anytime that you've got to go on the road in this conference, you really have to prove that you can step up in some of those adverse conditions. Mississippi State is about as adverse as you can get just from all the clanging cowbells, the fact that they are trying to surge forward with this program. So a big testament to the Bulldogs of Georgia to be able to go in and pet and put to sleep the Bulldogs of Starkville, Mississippi.
Yeah, and look, I still hope. I mean, look, they're 5. Mississippi State is 5-5. They got one more game to win. They got 2 games left. We know that one of them is against Ole Miss. Sorry, they're probably going to lose that game. Ole Miss is for real. But I don't know. I didn't go back and look at their schedule, but I hope it's someone fairly easy that they can win and they can make a bowl game, because that would still, I mean, we talk about them all the time, man. How big of improvement would that be for this Mississippi State program versus last year? Big improvement. These guys are going places. And with a new
Yeah,
quarterback, Van Buren left them last year, right? So they had to start all over again. And it really worked out well for them.
yeah, and they're already far ahead of where we expected them to be this season. So they're all playing with house money at this point.
Absolutely. This next game, man, a number 3 Texas A&M, the Fighting Aggies, took on what we thought was a very good Missouri team, number 22, Missouri, in Columbia, Missouri. And a lot of people, even when I was in Texas last week and speaking to some of the guys that I had to go see that were A&M people, they even agreed this could be a trap game for us. Missouri is a good program, and they're right. But A&M handled their own, man, 38-17. A&M, your Texas A&M Aggies, guys, are 9-0.
Here's the thing that surprised me with this game. Missouri, one of the top rushing offenses in the conference. Ed Hardy has been doing a fantastic job. I believe he still leads the conference after Saturday. But the fact that traditionally, when you're talking about Missouri and Eli Drinkwitz's offenses, you're talking about a high success rate for their quarterbacks. And yes, Bo Prabula does go down last week, dislocated ankle. We hope that he gets back as soon as he can. But I expected there to be a serviceable quarterback waiting in the wings, and they started a true freshman. If you're starting a game as a true freshman in the Southeastern Conference, that's a tall order. If you're starting a game in the Southeastern Conference as a true freshman against number 3 Texas A&M, that's a long afternoon. And that's exactly what the Missouri Tigers had on Saturday. They had a very long afternoon against a very well-coached Texas A&M.
That's a lot to ask of a true freshman to go up against a team like the way that the Aggies are playing, man. Mike Elko has got that team absolutely rolling, man. And it's a pretty cool thing to watch right now, man. I mean, going into the season, you and I never thought that Texas A&M would be sitting number 3 in the country. We didn't think they'd be sitting 6-0 in the SEC or even 9-0 overall, man. I mean, wow, that, my friend, is a good look.
Yeah, it's a great look for Texas A&M. Kind of a cautionary look for Missouri as they are now 6-3 overall. Obviously, it dropped them out of the playoff hunt, but now with games remaining on the schedule, 3 games left on the schedule, and all of those games, or excuse me, I take that back. No, yeah, all 3 games left on the schedule are conference games. So still a pretty tall hill to climb for them, really, maybe just to kind of break even. Again, depends on when Bo can get back and when they can kind of smooth around some of these jagged edges that they saw Saturday with their offense and just the lack of ability to really throw the ball around the field.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, man, this next game, this new now non-interim AD at Louisiana State University must have not had listened to last week's Chicken and Dog when I told them to call up Coach O. They needed him Saturday night. He didn't listen. They didn't call him up, and it shows, man. So a struggling LSU, a coachless Brian Kelly-less LSU had to face a number 4, very solid Alabama Crimson Tide, man, and it's 20-9. LSU hung in there. I mean, the defense kept it close, but Alabama was just too much for them to handle. I think Alabama. I had an argument with, not an argument, but a conversation with the guy at church today, and he's an Alabama guy. And I said, I think Alabama's the best team in the SEC. He actually thinks it is A&M, and then Georgia, then Alabama and Ole Miss. But I don't agree with that. I think Alabama right now, the way that they're playing, man, they got that one smack in the mouth at the beginning of the season with Florida State. They haven't looked back since, and they're playing great football.
Yeah, LSU's defense is really what keeps them in this game, and that's almost a stretch of a thing to say. Ty Simpson throws for 277 yards and a touchdown in a pretty decisive victory, 20-9. That's not even close. In Tuscaloosa on Saturday, Alabama continues to dominate the conference. They are undefeated in the conference right now. Now, so is Texas A&M. But yeah, I think if you put the two head to head on a Saturday afternoon, I think the Tide rolls away with that matchup.
Absolutely. This next game, man, you said it could be a trap game, but I think you were joking. So the Citadel had a roll to Oxford, Mississippi, and it actually looks like the entire team stayed in the Grove and may have drank a little too much. I don't know if it was his cheerleading squad that showed up or who showed up, but the football team did not show up. Ole Miss, the number 6 Ole Miss, beat them 49-0.
Well, let's not take too much away from the cadets at the Citadel. They showed up, but they showed up to a matchup where they were just completely outclassed. Chambliss, I'm going to tell you right now, would have gotten the dog of the week this week with 333 yards and 3 touchdown passes. However, this is against the Citadel. I mean, that's a lot like taking on, Michael Jordan taking on his little brother's basketball team. It's just not fair. Michael Jordan didn't have a little brother, by the way. But anyway, it was completely outmatched from the very beginning. The Citadel would have done better. I don't know, to maybe run the cheerleaders out on the field. I think it's like, oh, see, it wasn't really us playing. But yeah, Ole Miss did exactly what they should have done. They owned this ball game from the beginning, and then you could see how they really began to take their foot off the gas. 21 points in the first quarter, 14 in the second, and then they just kind of coasted in the second half, scoring a couple of touchdowns in the final 2 remaining quarters. But yeah, a really, really long Saturday for the Citadel. A great win for Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss.
It was a great win. And so I don't know what the remaining 2 games are, man, but I guess they got one bye week. They got one more bye week, and then I don't know who they play. And then, of course, they play Mississippi State. So that should be a pretty fun game. Look, man, this next game, gosh, I got to watch the majority of this game. So a unranked Auburn, they are 1-5 in the SEC. They were 4-5 overall. Had to take on a very good, talented, and before this game, I would say a well-coached Vanderbilt, the Commodores. But, and I'll get into that in just a minute, man. But anyway, Vanderbilt was 7-2 going to this, 3-2 in the SEC. And Vanderbilt beat them in overtime, 45-38. A win is a win is a win.
Yeah, and that's what you've got to remember, especially, again, we keep coming back to it, in this conference where everything is so very difficult. Auburn has to go on the road to Nashville to play Vanderbilt. Years prior, that didn't really mean much to opposing teams, probably even to Auburn. But to come in and face the Pavia-led Commodores is a difficult task these days. 377 yards, 3 touchdowns, another guy who could have been in the conversation for the dog of the week. I'll get to why he missed out in a little while. However, yeah, it really comes down to, in my opinion, especially when you're striking poses in the end zone, if you want to beat a hapless Auburn team this year, you got to do it in a much more convincing way than what you did. 377 yards, I will not take the difficulty away from that from anybody. 3 touchdowns, certainly quite the accomplishment, but you really should have spanked Auburn coming into your house when they've lost their coach. They're a little misguided, don't know where's up, where's down. Are we still playing football, or is it basketball season yet? Vanderbilt should have hung it on Auburn, and they just had to squeak by in overtime.
Yeah, man. The reason I talk about Clark Lee, and he's a great coach. I think he's a great up and coming coach. And even, I would say, arguably, I think most people would agree that Kirby Smart, if not is the best coach in college football, at least in the top 5, right? And in my opinion, he made a bonehead move this year when we were playing the Crimson Tide and didn't kick a field goal, went for it on fourth and whatever, and they stopped us. That field goal was to actually tie the ball game, and he felt like it was in their best interest to go ahead. And at minute 13 left in the game, I believe that's right. They were well in field goal range. I mean, well in field goal range. It was tied 38-38. And they decided to go for it on 4th down instead of kicking the field goal. And to put them up, because I guess what they're thinking was, If we get the first down, we could run the clock down, kick a field goal, and we win anyway, right? They don't give them any chance. And I get the logic, and maybe you do that because you have a Pavia under center, right? I don't know. But it's the SEC, for crying out loud. In my opinion, when you have an opportunity to go ahead, especially late in the fourth quarter, you go ahead. But and what happened? They didn't make for the fourth down. Luckily, they were able to stop Auburn, and Auburn was driving. Man, they got close. Man, they had crested the they got into their into Vandy's territory, just not far enough to be able to kick a field goal to be able to go ahead. But then they went into overtime, and Vandy did what Vandy's been doing all year, and Pavia just handled business. But still, my opinion for Clark Lee, you should have kicked the field goal, pal.
Well, and he might be telling himself that in post game thoughts and reviews, and even today as they begin to look at film. But something that we have to remember, as we are not professional coaches, be it the head position or all the way down the line to all the analysts that are working to make all these decisions happen in a split second moment. But that's where all this information is compiled, is through all of these analysts and the work that they're doing during the week, the strengths not only of their own team, but maybe some of the susceptibilities and weaknesses of their opponent. So they've got a collection of data and information to take into that ball game so that, okay, given this circumstance, this situation, be it the clock, the down, the distance, whatever, these are the options that we've got. Coach, what do you want to do? And in that split second, because the play clock is a ticking, the head coach has got to make that call. And they go with the best one that they've got. We've seen every head coach. You mentioned Kirby Smart. Shane Beamer has done it. Nick Saban, in his history as probably the best coach to ever coach the game of college football, has made the wrong side of that call. But that's the nature of the game. And you just got to have to go with not only the data, but also your gut in that moment. And which one do you think will make you more successful?
And I think a lot of that is your gut. I mean, it's easy for me to sit back as a college football fan and easily criticize these guys. But this guy, Clark Lee, does know who he has under center. And Diego Pavia, man, has proven for the last 16 years that he's a great college football player. And he has the ability to make those special plays. And so I get his logic. Don't get me wrong. But, man, this is the SEC, man. It's hard. It's just hard. I don't care if you're playing Auburn, if you're playing Florida or Kentucky or Mississippi State. This year, I mean, they're hard. It's a hard conference from top to bottom. This next game, man, I ain't going to lie to you. I actually thought this game would not go the way that it did. I thought that for sure after playing Florida last week, and it was a struggle, man. Georgia beat them 20-24. That was a hard fought game, man. DJ Lagway played a great game. Thought for sure they were going to be able to go in Lexington, Kentucky and upset the Wildcats. And they did not. I thought it could deliver Stoops his final blow, and it did not. So a very struggling Florida man took on another struggling program. Florida was 3-5 going in there. Kentucky was 3-5 going in there, and Kentucky beat them 38-7. Good job, Stoops.
Yeah, good job, Stoops. You, in theory, keep hope alive for a bowl berth for Kentucky this season. I say that in theory. You've got to play Louisville, who just got beat this past weekend, but they're not going to be happy about that. They're going to want to challenge you. I don't remember if Kentucky and Tennessee have faced off yet this season, or if that matchup is even on the schedule. I don't have their schedule in front of me, but hope is still there in the blue state for the Kentucky Wildcats. Every ounce of hope is gone for Florida. Now, mathematically, you're still in it. You're 3-6. You got 3 left to play. Yes, you could reach bowl eligibility. I think what this loss in Lexington shows on Saturday for Florida is that they are completely lost. They can't handle playing close to Georgia and proving to themselves that, look, we can go stride for stride with the best of the best and then come in for what should have been a letdown game, but was a laydown game for the
Yeah.
Gators. They should have dropped back a little bit. Sure, the intensity of the matchup wasn't there, but you still got the talent to easily beat Kentucky. And, buddy, you laid an egg.
Yeah. Kentucky has Tennessee Tech next. Vanderbilt.
Tough ask.
At Vandy, and then at Louisville. They got 2 hard road games at the end, at the stretch, man. So,
and I don't want to take anything away from Kentucky in Nashville. I mean, Andy is showing through a very close, hard-fought win against Auburn that they do have some vulnerabilities there that maybe they look past. I mean, keep in mind, Vanderbilt is sitting in the upper echelon of the SEC right now, but it's not like they're used to being where they are. I mean, they had a good year last year. They're having a great year this year, but this is still uncommon ground for a lot of these guys. And Stoops and the Wildcats really don't have a whole lot to lose. Right now, I don't know that they're expecting to go to a bowl game. So if they get to one, that's awesome. So, yeah, if they beat Tennessee Tech coming up and then they take one from Vanderbilt, that's 6 wins.
So you're saying there's a chance?
It could happen for your favorite guy.
Yeah, I love that guy a lot. Look, let's jump into these to the other conferences, man, and talk about these games that happen with the teams in the top 25. So a 5-4, 2-3 in the ACC, Cal takes on a 7-1, 3-2, or no, 4-1 in the ACC, number 15 Louisville. And you and I talked about this on the last show that the playoff committee is not giving the ACC a lot of love this year. They're really not. And look, man, they went into overtime and Cal beat them 29-26.
29-26. And, you know, the way that you led into that could lead a lot of people to say, well, see, that's why they're not giving them a lot of attention in the ACC is because, look, then they go, your 7-1 Louisville Cardinals go and drop one to the Cal Golden Bears. But I'll point this out. Doesn't that indicate a lot of diversity within the conference, showing that these guys are going to fight out to the end too? Don't forget that back in the Pac-12 days, Cal was one of those we're all going to walk over you programs. They've come into the ACC and really kind of breathed some new light into themselves and saying, look, we're just not going to lay down for people anymore. We're going to go out there. We're going to do our best. And that's what Cal does to come away with the victory on Saturday, bringing us to our Gooch of the week. This week, our Gooch of the Week is brought to you by Breaking Chains Fitness, their website, bc-fit.net, BC Fitness Harlem on Instagram, and Breaking Chains Fitness on Facebook. Breaking Chains for Kingdom Games, growing into a superstar, which is what Breaking Chains Fitness can help you do in your personal life. Jaron Kiwe, and I'm going to mispronounce this, so I apologize ahead of time, Sagapulutele. That's my best effort there, big guy.
I like it.
The quarterback for the Cal Bears comes into Louisville, Kentucky, taking no prisoners. 30 of 47 attempts, no interceptions, 323 yards. That's the first time this season that he has eclipsed the 300-yard mark, and 2 crucial touchdown passes to help propel his Golden Bears over the Louisville Cardinals and really disrupt their plans for the postseason. Cal is not going to be in contention for either the ACC or a playoff bid, but certainly playing their way up the chain in terms of what type of a bowl game would be attracted to Cal. And I think there would be a lot right now that would love to have the Golden Bears come and play for them after Christmas.
Now that, my friend, is a good look. That's a good
great
look. That's a great look. And look, I'm going to just call him Saga because that's his first 4 letters of his last name. So I'm going to call him,
That's
what's up, Saga? Look, man.
quite the saga on Saturday.
Yeah, absolutely. Great job, man. Great award. We say this all the time, and I think it's has to be said again. Don't come
Don't
back.
come back.
Don't come back. It's a very prestigious award. I actually thought that there was somebody else that could have been in the running for the Gooch Award, somebody that has come out of nowhere and had a lights out type of game. But this is your award to pick, and I respect that 100%. But I'll also say Mike Bobo, because we've given this guy a lot of we've given him a lot of trash, a lot of criticism over the last couple of seasons. But and I know we've already talked about Georgia, but I want to just bring this up. So 264 yards in the air. That's what Gunnar Stockton had in 3 touchdowns, right? Listen to the total rushing offense for my Georgia Bulldogs. 303 yards. That's a beautiful, well-called game by Mike Bobo. But Saga, he deserved the Gooch for sure.
Saga is a freshman. Bobo is decidedly not. So that alone propels him well above what Bobo was able to do. If Bobo can't put up those numbers by now, fire him tomorrow.
Well, look, we have called for that many a times. I'm just saying.
There you
go. Let's see. The Fighting Prophylactics took on Northwestern, and look, man, they beat them 38-17. I know you and I have had this conversation Saturday morning. This game was played on Friday. I know your stance on this as much as you can't stand this team. But I have a problem. I think it's dirty. I know it's within the rules, but I still don't like it. I think it's I just don't like it. I'm just going to be honest with you. So the third string quarterback put on the jersey number of the punter and came in at some point in the game. I think it was at the end of it, and thought he was going to punt and end up throwing and going, getting the ball and throwing it for a first down. And, do I think that changed the outcome of that game? No. Southern Cal, the Fighting Prophylactics, had that game under control. Don't get me wrong. I just don't like that. There was in the 90s when the Braves were in the World Series and they were playing another team, and I can't remember who it was, but it was in the World Series, and the team that they were playing faked like he actually scooped up the ball after a hit to go throw, and it held back one of the Braves players, and he didn't actually have the ball. It was a fake, but he could have probably went ahead and scored. And I just think that's dirty playing, but it's within the rules.
You and I do not agree at all. If something is within the rules, then coach, player, take advantage of it. I was a baseball player, love that sport, and that's just stuff that you got as a player, whether you're the one pulling the stunt or whether you're the victim of the stunt, you have to be aware of what's going on the field at all times and make your live gameplay decisions based on that. Again, I played football in high school, and I'm going to tell you, when you're all geared up on a Friday night in high school, beyond the face mask, you don't know who is who back there. Now, if it's that giant running back that just bulldozed you three plays ago, you might recognize him just from the license plate versus the skinny kicker. But at D1 college football, man, all these guys are athletes. So you've got to kind of be aware of your surroundings as the opposing coach. You've got to be aware of what all's going on. We talked about a little while ago about all the analysts and everything that goes into making those in-game quick decisions. That's why they got that whole staff over there, is so that somebody can be calling attention to this, that, or the other thing and yelling that out. Look for the fake, watch for this. Number 49 is not who he says he is. They've got all that stuff going on over there. Lincoln Riley, as much as I hate it, they occupied the space within the rules. And as long as you're between the hash marks, between the sidelines, it's good.
I hear you, man. And look, I'll even go as far as saying this. Even if my bromance, Lane Kiffin, did this, I would have a problem with it. I would.
Lane Kiffin has done
How you
this.
doing?
Lane Kiffin has done this. Lane Kiffin was the one that spurred on the whole, oh no, my left toenail has got a hangnail here. My pancreas hurts. I'm not even sure where that's located, but I need a breather here for a minute just so he could make possible substitutions on the sidelines. Lane Kiffin has done things that at the time were well within the rules of the game to provide himself just that much of an advantage, even for the 15 seconds that it takes for that big, heavy defensive tackle to lumber himself off the field for another speed rush guy. Whatever it is. Bielema, Captain Bulimia did the same thing to the Gamecocks in the bowl game last year. It's within the rules. We can be upset about it. We can say, man, that's a cheap shot. It might be, but it's within the rules, and it's up to the officials. It's up to the governing bodies of the game, be that conference level, be that NCAA level, to say, you know what, we're not really cool with that. We're going to go back to one jersey number 7 for the team. You don't get to have 3 of these guys where that's our defensive one and that's our offensive one. Or wait, we've got 2 and that guy on defense actually plays both ways. No more of this silliness. Get back to the way jersey numbers used to be. But we're not. We've crossed that threshold. We've opened that Pandora's box. It's out there, and it's created additional challenges, additional things for coaches to pay attention to. So it's on Northwestern at this point.
No, I'm with you on that. And look, you talk about jersey numbers. They even allow 0 on the field now. Yeah, but not to beat a dead horse. But I didn't like when Lane Kiffin played that foolishness too about, his players faking injuries. I thought that was cheap too. Play the game. Let the people would argue when I say let the best coach prevail and the best team prevail. Some people would say, well, the best coach is the guy that thinks outside the box. I guess. I don't see it that way, but
go back to the advent of the fake kick or the fake punt in the first place, where we don't look at that as being any big deal today. But the first few times that somebody ran that, hey, what's this about? You're supposed to be kicking a field goal, or you're supposed to be punting the ball, but instead it's just changed, and the game is always changing, whether we like it or not. And most of the time, I certainly don't. I long for the game that was when I was coming up and learning how to experience college football. But the game still changes because these coaches are thinking outside the box and finding new ways to find that advantage. We just got to keep up.
Are you talking about the time with leather helmets?
No, that was your time. I was already.
Oh, man. All right. I digress on this, as I probably should. This next game, man, woo-wee. A number 2 Indiana took on a coachless Penn State. And Penn State was winless in the Big Ten. It looked like that could be changed. It was a hard-fought game, man. Penn State came back at the fourth quarter and really tried to put something on there, but just couldn't quite pull it off. Indiana prevailed 27-24. A great game all the way around.
It really was. It was probably one of the most exciting games out there this weekend. Mendoza does what champions do. and he comes through in the end with a great touchdown pass. I don't want to take anything away from the receiver to get that toenail in. We just talked about toenails here a minute ago, but he got a toenail in to make that catch official in the end zone, the back of the end zone, to close this game out. But a great win for Indiana on hostile territory. Unfortunately, Uncle Kenny comes up short again.
Yeah, he's must be sipping on the sauce pretty heavy right now. But speaking of Indiana and the remaining of their schedule, man, listen to this: Wisconsin and Purdue. They're going undefeated until the Big Ten championship game, and they may
I'd
be.
hold my horses on that. We've got a Wisconsin game coming up to talk about. Purdue, I don't see as being much of a challenge, but Wisconsin's not going to go down without a fight.
Maybe not, but I mean, my gut tells me that I think they've got that. To, okay, so look, a number 9 Oregon takes on a number 20 Iowa. Oregon was 7-1 going into that game. Iowa was 6-2 going into that game. You and I talked about how this game, they were playing in Iowa, that this could be a heck of a game to watch, man. It could be a hard fought game. And guys, it didn't disappoint. 18-16, Oregon prevailed at the very end to kick a field goal.
At the very end, and this began to take shape as the week of the kicker. As we've said before, Iowa knows how to play defense for certain. They showed out. This game was decided by Atticus Sappington, 3 of 3 for field goals, his longest being 46 yards, and 1 of 1. 1 of 1. Listen to that, folks. Oregon, the Ducks, 1 of 1 for extra points. Yeah, that just happened. Iowa held the Oregon Ducks to that little of an offensive production that they had to lean. Dan Lanning had to say, hey, what's that kicker's name again? We need him out there one more time to win the game. And that's exactly what he did.
Yeah, Oregon found the end zone as far as touchdowns one time.
One time.
One time. That Iowa defense, man, they're for real, man. And I mean, great game to watch. There's no doubt about that. This next game, I'm not. I mean, look, I'm kind of indifferent. I mean, I wanted Navy to win this game, man. So a really good Navy, 7-1 Navy team took on a number 10 Notre Dame. Notre Dame was 6-2 at the time. We talked about how Navy plays that triple option type style offense and how hard it is to defend an offense like that. Notre Dame's defense and Marcus Freeman, they didn't have any problems with that. Notre Dame beat them 49-10. It was a great showing for the Irish. As long as Irish holds their own, they're stamping their way into the playoffs.
Yeah, that's exactly what this game provided the Irish, was an opportunity to stamp their way to the playoffs. This turns out to be a really big win. Navy is no slouch this season, and Notre Dame comes out with a statement win against the midshipmen.
Yeah, and Notre Dame's, the rest of their season, they have to play Pitt, Syracuse, and Stanford. Pitt could give them fits. There's no doubt about that. But, yeah, I see this game being I see Notre Dame rolling right into the playoffs. All right, so here we're going back to this ACC love again, right? Maybe why they're not showing some ACC. I don't know. Maybe you're right though when you talk about maybe the talent is just so thick, right? Within the ACC, but a 5-3, they were 2-3 in the ACC. Wake Forest has to take on a number 14, 8-1, 5-0 in the ACC, Virginia, right? And Wake Forest beat them 16-9. There's another team that did not make it to the end zone this.
Yep, 203 total yards of offense. 203 total yards of offense for the Wake Forest Demon Deacons to propel themselves past Virginia on Saturday, and this was another one that it came down to the kickers. Both of these guys, Connor Calvert of the victorious Deacons, 3 of 3, longest of 50 yards, then 1 for 1 from extra point land. Will Bettridge, 3 of 3, no opportunities from extra point land. And there's your difference maker right there. But a great game played very hard by Wake Forest to hand the Virginia Cavaliers their second loss of the season, their first in the conference. Virginia still in a good spot as far as the ACC championship goes. However, big challenge on the horizon to stay in contention if there's going to be more than one slot open for an ACC playoff team.
That's right. Speaking of ACC, let's stay on that track, man. So a 3-6, 1-5 in the ACC took Syracuse, took on a number 18, 6-2, 2-2 in the ACC, Miami. And Miami did what they've done most of the season, and they beat them 38-10. Beck handled business. Good job.
Yeah, I have just kind of become very pedestrian in my appreciation for Miami this year. I expected a lot more out of him. I expected a lot more out of Carson Beck. He does have a good outing, 247 yards and 1 touchdown pass. I think the biggest thing for me is that he decided not to throw it to somebody from the other team this week. So good job. But at the same time, removing all comedy from it, I don't know how impressed I am with Carson Beck, the college player. I alluded to this last week. I think that Carson Beck is really going to be a very good NFL quarterback one day. He's underwhelming in the college game from where I sit. But he manages to help his team find a way to win. I don't know how much effort was involved in that. The Miami defense comes up with 2 interceptions against Syracuse on Saturday. So all around a great team win for the Hurricanes, but it was Syracuse. They're 3-7.
Yep. It was just Syracuse, and you're kind of right, man. I mean, it's almost like the enthusiasm that was wrapped around this Miami Hurricanes Carson Beck team is kind of just deflated. Now it's like, okay, good job. So yeah, I'm with you on that.
We're all just waiting for Santa at the end of the parade. That's all we're doing right now.
Can I please have the candy from Santa? A number 23 Washington. They were 6-2 overall. They're 3-2 in the Big Ten. Had to take on a Wisconsin, and Wisconsin was not playing well. Good football, man. They were 2-6 overall. They were 0-5 in the Big Ten. But Washington had to go to Wisconsin. And I don't know if it was cold, it was snowing, a lot of cheese, whatever, but something threw these guys off, man, the Huskies off, and Wisconsin beat them 13-10.
So I read something interesting this week, and it was just a blurb. Like I don't get deep into reading. I trust the director to tell me everything I need to know on screen. But I saw something where Washington's head coach is most likely open to opportunities after the season because his family and his kids don't really like Seattle all that much. They're not jacked up to be Huskies. And so I don't know how much of that is wearing on him as the head coach of this program. And therefore, does that translate down to the team and their enthusiasm, their excitement about game days? I will say this. This is another one this week that came down to the kicking game. I'll start with the victorious Wisconsin Badgers. Nathaniel Vacos, 2 of 3, long of 42 yards, and 1 for 1 at the 3-yard line for an extra point for a total of 7 points this past week. While the Washington Huskies, Grady Gross, 1 for 2. Man, that played out to be pretty gross when you lost by a field goal, my friend. And the longest was the only one he made, 42 yards. So learn how to kick it a little bit better. Maybe there'll be open tryouts in Seattle this week so that next year's coach will have a place kicker he can depend on.
Yeah, I mean, I don't blame him for wanting to leave Seattle. That is
It's
just
always wet. There's always people wanting to protest something. Yeah, let's go find somewhere sunny where they don't argue and yell over coffee.
no Kings. Or maybe not.
Whatever.
Yeah. Now, that leaves us with one game left to talk about. And man, this was going to be a big game. We thought it was going to be. This was college game day, man. I mean, this was a big environment. So at the time, a number 7, undefeated, 8-0, 5-0 in the Big 12, BYU. That stands for Brigham Young University for all you slow people. Had to take on a very, very talented, bought 8-1, number 8, 8-1. They were 5-1 in the Big 12. Texas Tech Red Raiders in Lubbock, Texas. And I don't know if it was the environment or what, but Texas Tech beat them 29-7.
First of all, Rube, I looked for you on game day. I didn't see you. I was waiting for that sign, chicken. I'm over here. Never saw it, but good for you and your Red Raiders. Morton throws for 219 yards and a touchdown, no interceptions. Cameron Dickey runs the ball 23 times for 121 yards and another score. The Red Raiders set out to put it on Brigham Young and to put it on them early. However, I've been saying it all show long. Ladies and gentlemen, your dog of the week this week comes from the Texas Tech Red Raiders. That's right, Rube, get off my Stone Harrington, number 48 on his jersey, number 1 in your hearts. 5 of 5 for a long of 47 yards in field goal land and 2 for 2 for the extra point. He's tallied 17 total points. He beat Brigham Young by himself on Saturday. Hats off to the kicker. This is probably the only week that we'll be able to say that. Good job, Stone Harrington. Great job, Texas Tech.
Way to go, Stoner. He must be from Colorado.
You know, I think that Smokey D is upset that he went to Texas Tech and not UT Austin.
There's a good chance of that, that's for sure. Look, man, great award. Look, great job for Stone, man, to be able to not only hit those 5 field goals, man, but to be able to prevail against a really, really good BYU team, man. And they have been firing on all cylinders. If you ask me, if Texas Tech would have lost this game, it would have made them, I think it would have made them really hard argument for them to be able to make the playoffs. But it kind of left it kind of open to where you probably see these two teams potentially. You're definitely going to probably see these two in the Big 12 championship.
Yeah.
But
the way that they're playing right now, absolutely.
Yeah, but, you know, it could still make both of them make it into the playoffs, both of them. It definitely looks like you're only going to get one ACC team into the playoffs. And as long as Oregon doesn't drop another game anywhere, you're probably going to get 3 of the Big Tens. And we'll get into that more next week or later in a forecast show. We'll go over the new bracket that'll just come out and probably break down each conferences and seeing how that conference championship is starting to shape up as well. But, man, it was a good week for college football. I know that a buddy of mine at church came up to me, big fan of the show, but also a big fan of Carolina Gamecocks. And he said, "Hey, we didn't lose this weekend." I said, "No, but I'm going to say it early. And I'm going to hold to it." I said, "No, but you're going to win Saturday."
Ever the optimist.
That is me, my friend. That is definitely me for sure. And I'll get into my reasoning later this week of why I believe that. But I truly do believe that. But anyway, that's another thing. Look, guys, love us, like us, follow us Just it's the end of the season's rearing its ugly head. The playoffs are starting to shape up. It's some good stuff. It's good football. The weather's really starting to get into that football spirit here in the Southeast, man. Leaves are different colors. Temperatures are dropping. We've got some freezing weather coming. It's football season in the heart of it. And we love it so much. It's just unfortunate that it's starting to get towards the end. But tell your friends about Chicken and Dog. Tell someone. Chicken, you got anything?
In the first ever unappreciated kicker week, pray for your kickers this week. They need love too. Jesus won, and I am all crowed out.
That's right. All right, guys. Love you. Deuces.